Good afternoon, I'm Lee with Corghi USA and Tim with Corghi USA. We're going to show you the installation for the 1680 balancer. That's the ET1680 heavy duty balancer that will also do the passenger and automotive cars. With that being said, you're going to have a box that comes banded on top of the pallet. That's going to have our pen plate kit in it that comes standard with the machine. You'll want to remove the bands and remove this box. Pretty heavy, so it's best if you can use two people. After you've flushed out or crowbar the staples that go around the box, we'll remove the cardboard box assembly. After that, you'll want to remove all packing material, including the mounting bolts around the balancer that mounts it to the pallet. We are removing all of the packing material from the pallet, and we've opened up the crate that has the pin plate and back cone spacer that you will see. It's a hub plate with a pin plate that comes standard with the 1680. And then we have a quick nut pressure cup. We have our calibration plate. We have our calibration weights and also the Allen wrench for installing the shaft. Our power cord. The box that has the monitor in it. Be careful with that when unpacking. We have our calipers that are used for manual dimension entry when the automatic mode is not working. There will be a plate that's secured to the pallet that you'll remove. That's our ramp for rolling up the tire. Tim is in the process of removing the hood assembly arm that will attach to place our hood on. We'll be placing that first, and then we'll be installing the monitor. Now going to install the hood assembly. The first thing you're going to do once you get everything unstrapped is you've got the two bolts that are pre-screwed into the arm. You'll remove those and place the arm into the hood assembly as such, and then once you do, clamp it into the front and then reinstall the two screws, one at this end and one at that end. All right, we've set the hood assembly aside now that we have the bar assembled with the hood, and we're coming over here. We're now going to remove the monitor bracket that's temporarily stored on the back of the machine. There are 8 screws that are located around the back. You're going to remove those 8 screws. Those are 3mm Allen heads. Once that is removed, you will loosen up the bolts, hex head bolts that are securing it, and you will be able to slide that off. Remove those 2 bolts, or I'm sorry, just the left bolt, and put it into the top left corner. Those will be your 4 mount screws to put the monitor bracket on to the back of the machine, and then you have 2 chrome bolts, stainless bolts, that are going to go into the top once we have it in place. You'll remove those 2 stainless bolts in order to be able to reinsert them once you have them in place. So you'll tighten these 4 bolts, and then you will insert and tighten the 2 stainless bolts. We've secured what turns out to be 6 bolts. Apologize, I mentioned 8 on the previous 2 scenes, but there are 6 of those Allen head screws that get reinstalled. Now we're going to install our monitor, and we do that with the cables that were pre-connected, and we will insert the 3 of those onto the computer prior to mounting it up onto the bracket. Installing the monitor, you want to loosen the 2 thumb screws on the left and the right, and then remove them. You'll see that it hooks. To the outside portions. There we go. And then reinstall your 2 bolts. And then position the monitor at the angle that you will need and tighten. Okay, now we want to prep the regulator to fit the air fittings that you use in that particular shop. So we'll remove the European coupler, and using a 17mm ratchet wrench, we're going to remove that nipple and then replace it with the nipple that they use in their own shop. Now we're going to remove the machine from the pallet. Now if you have a cherry picker or an engine hoist, you can connect it here and lift up and place over, or if you have a pallet jack or something to get underneath, we're going to show you how 2 people can manhandle it. So we're just going to kind of teeter-totter this out. Tilt it a little more. And gently set it down. Now we're going to install our hood assembly. We're going to use a 10mm wrench to remove the bolt that's already into the carriage that will support the hood arm. We'll remove that. There is a detent position on this shaft that you want to line up with the teeth, and the detent fit right into it. He'll simply rock it back and forth until he finds that detent position. Sometimes it's necessary to install the bolt to get it started and get a little bit tighter so that you can find that. Once you find that detent in the back position, get it good and tight, and then check your hood to make sure that it goes forward and stops and rests, and then we'll come back into the back position, lifted and rested. It should feel firm. We're now going to put the ramp for the wheel riser to the front of the machine by removing 2 screws that are already in place on the lift assembly. Those are number 5 hex head screws, and he's going to put that in place, line up the 2 holes, and then secure the screws. Okay, so now we're looking at our remaining accessories that we have after we've bolted our monitor on and our hood assembly. We are excited to announce here with Corghi USA that it's coming standard with a pin plate versus the cones, and then we have the step backing plates that we'll use to backside on the hubs of the 22.5s and 24.5s, as well as your 19.5s down to 17.5, 16.5 Isuzu and your heavy duty wheels that are on the transport trucks. We also come standard now with a quick release heavy duty wing nut and cone cover, and also the no-mar hub rings that go on there to protect your aluminum rims. So in order to get your pin plate set up, first you would identify which of the two pins you're going to use, the standard pin or the extra large. These do not fit. And this one here that you would see, that would happen, wouldn't it? Stop. I didn't want to do that anyways. Backing plate. What's the pressure cup? God dang. All right, so let me pull this one over. All right, we're going to show you now that we have the remaining accessories after we assembled the monitor and also installed our hood. We hooked up our air and our power at the back. Corghi USA is proud to announce and excited that we can show you that we have standard a flange plate to go into the front of all wheels, and on the back side you'll have your step plates that will act for your 26, 24.5 and 22.5s, and then your 19.5s down to your Isuzu truck 17.5, 16.5 heavy duty wheels. And then also now standard is the heavy duty Corghi quick nut with the pressure cup and the no-mar rings. It also comes with the calipers in case the automatic width detection is not working on the smart arm. And we also have a calibration plate. This is not needed or used for the setup, installation, or operation of the machine. This is something that would be used in case of a service center coming out and having to calibrate the lasers and such on the machine. So we're going to set that aside. I'm going to take my bolt pattern gauge, and on here we have either 6, 8, or 10 lug. In this case we have a 10 lug, so we'll be identifying the pattern through the bottom line. So I would take this and mate it up to the 2 holes, and I would look down at number 10 and see that it's on the number 5. So we're going to use the number 5 holes with our standard pins. It also comes with the heavy duty extra large that don't fit in here but may be used for some of your more heavy duty trash haulers and things like that, carrying heavy loads. So with that being said, the 5, this sits in here the way it should, and we will place those into the 5 hole positions, placing it down in there. And then of course, before you mount it, you would want to give it a check to make sure that it does mate up. All right, now to put the backing plate on, there are 4 holes in the back of the plate, not the 2 holes in the front, but in the back. So you'll slide this on, it'll fit nice and snug. You'll line that up and then spin it and put the first screw in, and then spin it 180 degrees. These are thumb screws. They do not have to be wrenched on. They just need to be thumb tight. All right, we've mounted the pin plate that's already set up for our standard 22.5s. We got that hanging on the top peg. We've got our other backing plate right here. That's going to be on the bottom. This is where we would keep our quick nut. And I'm not going to be using the pressure cup. I'm going to be using this ring spacer here that will mate up against this. We're going to place that right here, and we're going to mount our wheel. Now we're mounting our wheel. We roll it up on the ramp. The nice feature with us having the backing plate in place is we're able to position this and get it just right and actually hanging on that backing plate before we install the pin plate. So once you have it there, then you can install the backing plate. All right, so then we roll the wheel up on the ramp, lift it up, slide it onto the backing plate, Nice thing is that backing plate, when you have your wheel nice and straight, will hold it in place while you grab your pin plate. Sliding that on, he grabs his quick nut, taking the pressure off of the rim in order to get it secured properly so that we're seated into all 5 of the lug holes. And now we have a perfect centering situation that's going to make it more accurate on your balancing. All right, so we've got our wheel and tire mounted. Now we're going to turn the machine on by hitting the power button next to the power cord. It'll take approximately 60 seconds for the machine to boot up. While we're waiting on that, we'll show you the expansive amount of wheel weight trays that we have here, where you can run your standard truck weights, including a larger storage cabinet for your tools, your wheel weight hammers and pliers and box cutters, whatever you may need. We have our 2 calibration weights sitting right here. We have a slot here for our manuals and or any work orders that are here. And then we have 2 pegs in place that can be used for your medium duty truck cone kits, your Chevy 2500 kits as such. And then you'll see that we have a Cat 5 and 2 USBs. This is where you can install a printer, Wi-Fi adapter, and send the information to the front desk, or simply print it out. The printer is optional on this machine. Once we get into this mode, we get the screen up here. We're going to touch it. The first thing you want to do is to make sure that the settings are in English. Now here it was already preset, but we're going to show you. We'll go into menu. We'll go into our gear settings. We'll get into our setup. And here's where you can change your language. It was in Italian, so we changed it to English. And then on each touchscreen, as with all Corgi touchscreen balancers, when you make a change, make sure you hit save to hold that information before you exit out. We're going to move into our truck calibration. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I'm in truck mode by tapping the truck. I'm going to go back to my menu button and go back to my settings. Now I find my calibration icon, the 15 weight with the 2 arrows. We press on that. Step 1 for our 3-spin calibration is to mount the wheel and tire assembly. Step 2 is to hit start, but since we have a hood, we're going to close our hood, and then we're going to hit start. For the calibration mode, we're going to go back into the menu. We're going to hit the settings. We're going to look for our calibration icon, the 15-gram weight with the 2 arrows pointing. We're going to select that. We're going to mount our wheel and tire, and then we're going to hit start, except in this case we have a hood. So we're going to close our hood. Once the spin is complete, it'll automatically rotate and lock to the 12 o'clock position, where you're going to put your 200 gram, or you can touch this and it goes to 7 ounces. We're going to place our 7 ounces at 12 o'clock. And we're going to close our hood. Now that we've completed that spin, it shows us putting this 7-ounce weight at 12 o'clock on the outside position. So we will remove this weight, come opposite. The wheel is locked in place. Put it at the exact 12 o'clock position. Making sure it's 12 o'clock. And then we'll close our hood. The first spin is complete at 80 RPM. Basically, it took the measurement with the 7-ounce weight on the outside. Now it's set everything to 0, and it's running a check spin at 0. Now that it's done that, it goes at 77 RPMs, and it's doing a third and final check spin to make sure that everything that was set at 0 is in fact at 0. The only time you need to do a calibration in the future is if you start chasing weights or you move the machine to another shop or building. Once the calibration is complete, you'll get the OK symbol right there. Make sure you remove your calibration weight and you are complete. Basic operations for... We're now going to show you the basic operating instructions, which is all found on the screen right here. We do have a button, we do have a distance arm, and so reviewing the screen, this is a industrial touch screen. The weights are in the dynamic position. You can move these weights into any position you want. Be careful when you choose sticky weights that you're not doing the sticky weight outside of the rim, but in fact inside the rim. If you want to do static mode, then you would turn one off. You can double tap and put it into the center. You can double tap and put it on the outside. You can double tap and put static on the inside. Typically it's a sticky weight, and double tapping it puts it into the static mode here. Again, your standard position will be your dynamic clip-ons. Your weights will be showed on the left and right. If you are working in grams, you can simply touch the ounces and the grams. Your help button is right here, so any screen that you're on at any time, you can hit the help button and it'll review the procedures and each function that's on that page. You also have two indicators here on the left and the right where you can advance to the next page and keep going through all the different buttons and positions for this page. It'll scroll back to the main page. You can also go back a page if you want. After we've reviewed this, you can use your exit button to get out. Weight management, if we turn this on, will show you how much weight you can save and how much money you can save. Basically, this will round it down either a 1/4 ounce or a 1/2 ounce in order to save weight and save money. But be careful not to do your customer a disservice by doing that mode. So we will turn that off for the moment. We have operator 1 that can be doing a 22.5. We have operator 2 that might be doing a passenger car. We have operator 3 that can be doing a truck, 19.5. Operator 1 again is back into his mode where the configurations are set up for each operator. We have weight buttons here that will show you going from 1/10 of an ounce to a 1/4 of an ounce. We're going to leave it in the 1/4 of an ounce position. Again, if you have the printer, that's optional with the machine. You can simply push this button and it'll bring up a detailed report on the balancing functions. You're seeing the top half of the page here, and then here is the bottom half of the page, including any diagnostics that we may run. You can write on this by tapping the script and typing in the information. Once you have the information stored, you want to save that. Then you can exit, you can erase, and then you can exit. If you've written your script, you can save this as a PDF to a hard drive through the Cat5 cables and USBs. You can save it to a memory stick that's placed into the USB port. And here's another quick print if you had a printer hooked up that you could do it there. We'll exit out of this, and that's your printer functions. We have tire optimization that we're going to see in just a minute. Run out detection, if any of these were highlighted, then we could tap those to get into the diagnostic portion of the machine. You have a start button and a stop button, and then you have your measurements are indicated right here at the bottom of the screen. Your width, your diameter, and your distance. In order to manually put those in or use the smart arm, we would take the smart arm and bring it out and place it up against the lip of the rim and hold it until it beeps, and then put it back into the rest position. It brings these up. If you want to adjust them, you can. And as you can see, make sure your fingers touch those buttons accordingly. I can go over here to my millimeters and inches. .5, hit enter. Stop. All right, now we can manually put our dimensions in, or we can use the smart arm by pressing it up against the lip of the rim and holding it until you get a beep. Once you do, make sure you put this back into the rest in the detent position, and then it brings your width up. If the width is off, then you could adjust it right here. Maybe it's an 8.0. Or we have a 9.0. And then we can exit out of that, and you can close your hood and get your spin.